Okay, today we're going to look at unemployment. First of all, we need to understand the meaning of unemployment. So these aren't just people who aren't working. They're people who are willing to work and they can't find a job. So that's first thing to establish. You know, if somebody is not looking for a job and they're not willing to work, maybe they've got a lot of money, maybe the husband is earning enough for the wife, etc., then they're not classed as unemployed. The unemployed are considered part of the labour force. That's all of the people of working age, but they're just not currently being used. So they're a resource that's not being used. They are considered economically active. People who aren't working but also they're not trying to find a job are economically inactive. So the labour force are the total number of workers, and this obviously depends on school leaving age. You know, if it's less, you can have more workers. If it's higher, you can have less workers, and the same for retirement age. If you can lower or increase that to change the quantity of workers, the number of people who remain in full-time education and don't leave school at 16, obviously, and the proportion of women who join the workforce. So these will all change the quantity of the labour force. And the governments can play around with this if necessary, to manipulate the economy. The labour participation rate is all the workers of working age the percentage of all those workers of working age who are part of the workforce. So maybe some people aren't part of the workforce, even though they're part of the population of working age, because they've taken retirement early, or maybe they're culturally, women don't work, for example, in some countries, etc. So the labour participation rate is a percentage, and that's just explaining how much of the total working age population is actually available, is possible to work. So you've got the level of unemployment and the unemployment rate. The level of unemployment we can see as the total number of workers unemployed. So it will be expressed as a number, maybe 3 million or something. And the rate is a percentage of the labour force. So all those that are considered economically active. So maybe this would be, for example, I'd put 8.6%. If you've got a labour force of 50 million and 4.3 million are unemployed, the rate is 8.6%. So that's the unemployment rate. There's a concept of stock and flow of unemployment. So the stock of unemployment is measured at a particular time, whereas the flow is measured over time. So, for example, the stock doesn't show, the real situation. There might be a lot of people changing jobs. So there might be a million people just in between jobs and have been unemployed for a couple of weeks. And that's not a problem. That just shows a dynamic, a very flexible economy, dynamic economy. But the flow show the people moving out, moving in and moving out of jobs. So it should be able to have a bit more, a better idea if you explain, the numbers a bit more. Discouraged workers is a quite used term, which means those that would like a job but really given up. They're not even looking. So they're discouraged workers. It's people who don't even bother looking. If we look at the flow of unemployment, maybe these could be the reasons for becoming unemployed. So leaving school early, or made redundant, or voluntary left a job, improved health for health reasons, stopped being a homemaker, okay, if you got divorced or something, migrated into the country, and then those moving out of unemployment, so entered higher education, found employment, became ill, became a homemaker, became discouraged worker, emigrated. So yeah, this should give us a better idea of the situation, and the needs of the people. For example, becoming unemployed to improve their health. If you're doing a very dangerous job and it's really affecting you, maybe it's not such a bad thing to become unemployed for a period. Measures of unemployment. So you've got two types of measures. You've got the claimant count measure, where the government just counts who they pay their unemployment benefit to. So that could be manipulated by the government. For example, if they start putting very old claimants on invalidity benefit, kind of disabled health, and then stop counting them as unemployed, so they can use that as a tactic just to reduce the unemployment numbers. Or maybe they don't pay to certain people. Like if you've got a lot of money in the bank, maybe if you've got more than £5,000 in the bank, then you're not entitled to benefits. And then the labour force survey, and also with the benefits, who's to say you're not working? Maybe many benefit takers are doing some work on the side, doing a bit of black work. So it's not very good at establishing the real situation. Labour force survey is just a survey, so that would get a bit of a better understanding, and also could be a bit more impartial, and less easy to manipulate, shall we say. So those are the two ways. You've got different types of unemployment. There are three main types. You've got frictional unemployment, structural and cyclical, but then subtypes within each category. So, for example, frictional unemployment, we know from our O-level, is people in between jobs. And that's not really a problem. It might be a week or 2 weeks or even a month or even the summer, and that's not such a problem for people. Many people do become unemployed for a period of time when they're changing jobs, and voluntarily too. And then you've got these subcategories in frictional. So you've got voluntary unemployed, those that want to change, so they just change, they just stop their job. Search unemployment, people who maybe they're offered a job but they don't take it up because they think they can get something better. So casual unemployment, this could be something like a supplementary teacher. If a teacher's ill, maybe someone who is in the community takes up a job temporarily and then becomes unemployed because maybe they do that regularly. So in between, they're unemployed. And then you've got seasonal, the classic seasonal unemployment, for example. In the summer, we need lots and lots of waiters and helpers at the beach, and people organising all the sunbeds, etc. And they take on a lot of workers just for the season. And they'll be unemployed during the winter. So then structural unemployment. This is the problem of the structure of the economy is not has changed, or is not fit, doesn't fit with people's skills. So if people aren't, if there's lots of jobs in manufacturing that's going out because of robots, etc., and people need to retrain, that's structural unemployment. Maybe they need different skills. Here, this includes regional unemployment. You might have an area where, in England we had the coal mines that gradually diminished, and there was a lot of regional unemployment because they obviously spent their lives working the coal mines and didn't have the skills, so they had to adapt to a new model of economy. Technological unemployment in this category, and that again is technology taking over your job, robots or whatever. I always give the example of translators. It's become easier and easier to translate, and you can do it quicker and quicker with robots helping. If you translate something later or all through the document, it gets automatically translated. You can translate very quickly. We don't need so many translators anymore. So that could create some structural unemployment. International unemployment, because maybe your country is not so competitive, and so the economic model needs to be changed, and the people need to be reskilled. If China, for example, suddenly starts, which in the past it starts doing factory jobs, menial factory jobs, very cheaply, that would create a lot of unemployment in Italy in the short term, until we could get them skilled in other things, maybe something using the intellect. And then you've got cyclical unemployment, which is about the problems of aggregate demands. The economy goes up and down in cycles, and when it goes down, that creates a bit of unemployment. So that would be cyclical unemployment when we enter a recession crisis, you say in Italy. So those are different. The causes, for example, of frictional unemployment, well, it could be voluntary unemployment might be influenced by how much wages compared to unemployment benefits. If many people in England with big families find when they work, they're actually not much better off, and they prefer to just sign on for the unemployment benefit and not work if they've got 3 kids or 4 kids. And often they do a little bit of black work, and they're better off like that. So that's voluntary unemployment. Search unemployment, because maybe there's not the information. So if people are turning down jobs, maybe they think round the corner there's something better, and maybe there's not. So by giving people the information, that would help. Then we've got the information causes more search unemployment. For structural unemployment, you've got declining industries. In Turin, we depended a lot on manufacturing and Fiat, and when that declined a little bit in the 90s, started going down, or in 2000s, when we started moving into the 2000s, that was a big cause of regional unemployment. Not spelt right here, I'm going to change that. So technological unemployment is because of development of technology, so that's an obvious one. And international because of lack of competitivity. That might be because of the skills base. Maybe the workers don't know English enough, so they're not able to get the customers or the partners, or maybe it's because of the high taxes in Italy, or just the high wages, maybe. And then cyclical. Here we've got a diagram of the wage rate and the quantity of labour. Here the axis of quantity of labour, and we know if aggregate demand for labour goes down, so it goes to ADL1, then the quantity goes down of workers, or the workers accept a lower rate. So if they really want to keep at the same level of wage, it'll go from Q quantity of labour to X, whereas the equilibrium is here. I mean, if they really wanted to keep the same quantity of jobs, they would have to accept a lot less wages. So, and people don't. So generally, it's a problem. We have to keep aggregate demand up. So consequences of unemployment can be for personal costs, or maybe costs to the economy, or fiscal costs. Personal costs, in the short term, it's not such a problem. 3 months could be a bit like a holiday more than anything. After a year or so, people start getting depressed, and then longer than that, they can have feelings of feeling excluded and not being part of something, not having anywhere to go, not progressing, etc. And they can have mental problems. So it does cause a lot of problems with mental health. And then you've got the crime associated with long-term unemployment, drugs. People get so bored, and then they go off the rails, and then they go in the wrong direction. The protests, there's going to be a lot of disruption and protests for this. People won't be able, so the personal cost means people won't be able to build a future, a family, have a family, or keep a family together, have a house, etc. So the financial personal costs are obviously one of the most important things. So, and then you've got the fiscal costs. Here, the governments will have less tax. They're going to be paid less tax, and they'll have to pay a lot of benefits to the unemployed. You can't let people starve. There might be more crime, so you need more security services, more places in prisons. There will be more, protests, etc. Everything, all these things will have fiscal costs for the government. And for the economy, I mean, it's an opportunity cost. You've got people at home not working, they could be producing something. So if you've got 3 million unemployed, that's 3 million people that need, that could be used for the economy, could be part, you might have a lot of potential businessmen there, or um, lawyers or doctors, all these very, very important human resources sitting at home. Often there will be fiscal costs to get the unemployed better trained and maybe going back to university or doing courses for this and that, courses of English, etc. And just so you can overcome this cost to the economy and try to get them, in employment and then producing, consuming, and paying taxes, etc. And then you don't have to pay them unemployment benefit either. So the cost to the economy is heavy in terms of opportunity costs.